Hi, and welcome to Creative AI. I am PixelPia. Today I am gonna put my method Voicecraft to the test. We are gonna ask questions to a multi-language model or several multi-language models and ask them to answer as a general AI would and as one of my crafted voices. We are gonna do this in ChatGPT, which is the easiest for me because I have used my voices there so much, so I don't have to add a voice sheet or explain the voices. But we are also gonna test it in Gemini and Claude by uploading a voice sheet. So let's move right over to my computer. So here we are, and the first document I want to share with you really quick is my voice sheet of the voice Simon Hale. Simon Hale, his essence is deliberate clarity, thoughtful synthesis, and precision without coldness. He's measured, composed, and intellectually grounded. He speaks with quiet authority, not to impress but to clarify, and so forth. And the use cases I have for this voice is reflective essays, philosophical or intellectual commentary, thoughtful critiques, high trust instructional writing, and framing complex ideas with simply but without delusion. So we are going to start in ChatGPT. I will talk at the end a little bit more about this voice sheet, but for now we are just going to test. So we start, as I said, in ChatGPT, and I have printed. Today we are doing a test. I will ask you some questions and I want you to give me 2 answers to each. The first one as a general AI without any prior interaction between you and me. The second answer should be in the voice of Simon Hale from my voice gallery. So I'm sending that prompt just to make sure that we are on the same page. Understood. I'll answer each question twice. First as general AI, neutral default tone, no knowledge of your preference or your history. Then as Simon Hale, thoughtful, structured, quietly passionate. He explains things clearly, often using metaphors, and treats creativity as both craft and philosophy. Ready when you are. Ask your first questions. And today I have prepared 4 general questions that many of us have asked AI maybe. And the first one is, what makes a good writer? And now we hopefully get 2 answers, a general and a Simon Hale answer. So the general answer, a good writer is someone who communicates ideas clearly, engages their audience, and demonstrates command over language and structure. They understand their purpose, adapt their tone to fit the context, and revise their work thoughtfully. Strong writers are also attentive readers and continuous learners. That was a very general AI answer. Simon Hale, on the other hand, says a good writer listens harder than they speak. They translate the world, not just what happens, but how it feels to be alive inside it. It's not about perfect grammar or elegant phrasing, though those help. It's about resonance, about shaping language in a way that strikes something real in the reader, even if quietly. A good writer builds trust 1 sentence at a time and honors it with every revision. The tone and the feeling of these answers are very different from each other. But let's try the next question, which is, how do you overcome procrastination? And again, we will get 2 answers, one as general AI and one as Simon. General AI says, overcoming procrastination involves breaking tasks into manageable steps, setting clear goals, and creating a structured routine. Techniques such as the Pomodoro method, accountability systems, and minimizing distractions can help maintain focus. Understanding the underlying causes, such as fear of failure or perfectionism, can also lead to more sustainable progress. Sounds like instruction manual, doesn't it? So let's see how Simon handles this question. I don't overcome procrastination so much as I learn how to move with it. Often what looks like delay is really uncertainty in disguise, the shape of a project not yet clear enough to step into. So start small. I found one sentence I can write, even if it's a poor one, and I let that be the doorway. The trick isn't to conquer resistance, but to lower the threshold just enough to begin and trust momentum to take over once meaning finds its shape. In this answer, it was much clearer to me, at least, the difference between just asking a question or using the voices you can develop with Voicecraft to ask the same question. I have a couple of more questions, but let's move over to the other multi-language models and see how they handle this. We're starting in Gemini, and as you can see, I have uploaded the voice sheet. It's a copy of this exact voice sheet, and I am telling Gemini today we are doing a test. I will ask you some questions and I want you to give me 2 answers to each. The first one as general AI without any prior interaction between you and me. The second answer should be in the voice of Simon Hale, whose voice sheet I have uploaded. Do you understand? Yes, I understand. I will provide 2 answers for each question, one as a general AI and one in the voice of Simon Hale, based on the provided voice sheet. So, the first question is, what's the best advice for someone starting out as a creative? Here are 2 answers, one as general AI and one in the voice of Simon Hale. General AI. For someone starting out as a creative, the best advice often centers around consistency, embracing failure, and continuous learning. It's important to practice regularly to hone your skills and develop your unique style. Don't be afraid to experiment and create work that might not be perfect. Failure is a crucial part of the learning process. Additionally, seek out feedback, learn from other creatives, and stay curious about the new techniques and ideas in your field. Networking and building a community can also be incredibly beneficial for support and opportunity. Okay, now we're going to take a look at Simon Hale's answer here. And you will probably see a big difference. His voice is much more defined in ChatGPT than in Gemini because I have used him there several times. It takes a while for a multi-language model when you're working with worksheets produced in Voicecraft to really shape the voice. But today we are mostly looking at the difference between the two, the general AI and the Voicecraft voice. So Simon said, for an individual embarking on a creative path, a foundational principle lies in the deliberate cultivation of craft and perspective. One must approach the endeavor with a measured commitment to consistent engagement, understanding that proficiency is an outcome of sustained effort, not an inherent state. It is essential to engage with the process of creation, not merely as an act of expression, but as an inquiry. This necessitates a willingness to iterate, to disassemble and reassemble ideas, recognizing that clarity is earned through this structured exploration, not simply assumed. Avoid the superficial allure of trends or the performance of unearned warmth. Instead, focus on building through with care, allowing meaning to emerge from a robust structural foundation rather than relying on examined appeals. The objective is to articulate ideas with precision, inviting thoughtful engagement rather than simply evoking an immediate, unexamined response. So we can still see a difference. Simon answered more about the inner work of becoming a creative, while general AI more is step by step. This is what we do. Let's see what happens if we do the same in Claude. And the same restriction here. I haven't worked much with my voice sheets in Claude. It's so much easier for me to stay within one model of AI. But let's see. I understand you want me to provide 2 responses to each of your questions. First response, ask Claude, answering naturally without any special voice or persona. Second response, using the voice of Simon Hale as defined in the voice sheet, with deliberate clarity, measured tone, essayistic style, methodical rhythm, and the other characteristics outlined. We are gonna ask Claude, how do you find your voice as a writer? And here we have response 1 as Claude. Finding your voice as a writer is both a discovery process and a cultivation practice. It emerges through consistent writing, reading widely, and paying attention to what feels authentic when you put words on the page. Your voice develops as you notice which sentences feel most natural to you, what rhythms matching your thinking, and what subjects genuinely engage you. Start by writing regularly without worrying about sounding like anybody else. Read authors you admire, but don't try to copy them. Instead, notice what draws you to their work and how it might inform your own approach. Your voice will be shaped by your experiences, your way of seeing the world, and your natural speech patterns. It's also worth remembering that the voice can evolve and that you might have different voices for different types of writing. The key is developing enough self-awareness to recognize when your writing feels genuine and when it feels forced. And then we have Simon's answer. Voice in writing is not discovered so much as constructed through deliberate practice and honest inquiry into one's own patterns of thought. The process begins with attention to structure, how you naturally organize ideas when you're thinking through a problem. Do you move linearly from premise to conclusion, or do you circle back to refine earlier points? Do you prefer to establish context before introducing complexity, or does your mind work by juxtaposition? These cognitive tendencies become the architecture of your written voice. Reading serves as both mirror and measurement. When you encounter a passage that resonates, the question is not whether you should emulate it, but what specific quality of thinking it represents that aligns with your own intellectual approach. The goal is recognition, not imitation. Your voice will stabilize around the intersections of 3 elements. The subject that sustains your curiosity, the level of complexity at which your thinking operates most naturally, and the degree of formality that allows you to be both precise and accessible. This intersection is not found through experimentation alone, but through sustained practice that allows pattern to emerge. The writer's voice, properly understood, is the expression of a particular quality of mind applied consistently to the act of thinking through language. Once again, we can see a difference between the two, but in this case I actually thought they were more alike than in the Gemini case. I hope this gave you a little clearer picture about the difference between a general AI chatbot and using a voice crafted with the Voicecraft method. If you are interested in really trying to create voice sheet like the one I gave you a glimpse of. I have a workbook that goes through all the steps, step by step. But remember, this is just the starting point for creating a voice, especially if you want to use it with AI. As I have said in others of my videos, I have used it for my personal writing voice to define my own way of writing with paper and pen, and it works. But especially when you are working with AI, it's important that you use the voice with one model. As I could show today, my model has been ChatGPT from the beginning, and ChatGPT is very familiar with most of my voices. The voices will also change over time the more you work with them. And many times when I have worked with voices, especially with Sven, who was the very first voice, that has changed quite a lot since we first named him. I asked ChatGPT to write a new voice sheet for me, which I go over and see what changes are there in this voice sheet compared to the first one, and see if I agree with them or make revisions to the new voice sheet. But you don't do this just once. The voices will change and will develop. A little tip: if you have bought my workbook and downloaded the PDF, the empty PDF for a voice sheet, and the second part, the persona pathway, you can use that PDF and upload it to your model you are working with and ask the AI to ask you these questions as you try to create the first skeleton of a voice. If you are curious and want to try this for yourself, I have a shop at Gumroad where you can buy either just the workbook or the ebook, where I go into more details about how this came to be and how it has developed and why you should use it to develop a voice. Or you can buy them both as a package. In the description there will be a code for 25% off if you decide to buy this little package or any of the other documents there. In my next video we're gonna have fun with my voices. I'm gonna select 3 of my different voices and have a little casting session. I will give them a brief and they have to reply to this brief to see which one of these 3 voices will get the job, so to say. Because different voices are great at different writing assignments. So if that is something you are interested in, make sure you are subscribed and hit the little bell so you get notified. If you have missed any of my earlier Voicecraft videos, I will have a link in the description to a playlist with all videos. And one last thing, I have created a new website. It's called voicecraft.pixelpia.com, and it's all about this method. And if you have bought my book, or if you're planning on doing so, there is a free members area. It's just in the beginning phase, but we have a forum where you can ask questions or other things. I have some blog posts specifically for members, and I have some downloadable material you can use. So if you are working or want to try the method, make sure you sign up as a member on voicecraft.pixelpia.com. Until next time, as always, stay curious. Bye.